This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Hudson Auto Works is conveniently located off of Highway 29, 812 Post Street, Greensboro, North Carolina. Our beautiful 15,000 square feet facility is home to 21 highly trained professionals offering used car sales, collision repair, automotive detailing, and the best customer service you won't find anywhere else. Visit us at www.hudsonautoworks.com or call us at 336-772-0685.
Join us at East Coast Wings and Grill. Enjoy 75 tasty flavors of buffalo wings, fresh salads, burgers, and a variety of delicious dishes. Experience a family-friendly atmosphere you can't get anywhere else. Fresh, family fun.
Get your business noticed with quality vinyl vehicle wraps from Roof Sign Service. Roof Sign Service has been providing truck lettering and quality printed vehicle graphics for over 50 years. Now they offer premium digital printing wraps for all types of vehicles. Add a new element of energy to your company's image. Get more mileage out of your business-to-business advertising by wrapping your vehicle into a moving billboard from Roof Sign Service. Roof Sign Service in Greensboro, where you can get wrapped and get noticed.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
it amplify any of the excitement for you watching this race in sim tonight?
Yeah, kind of getting me amped up for the weekend ahead, man. We had the big Coke race on Tuesday. We have this race tonight, and then, of course, we got lots of great action coming up this weekend here in real life Charlotte. But right now, where I'm looking forward to tuning in to see what's going to happen tonight. And I believe, Kenneth, you have a lot more information on all the names that we'll be following to see who's going to be in the top 70.
We'll be following a lot of drivers, you're right, Daniel, throughout tonight's race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it goes beyond just the second split action that we have for you here on FTN. Marconi Entertainment will have the top split alongside third split, and all of the splits under that. Drivers still yearning for their spot into the top 70. You can look at the bottom of your screen on the ticker. That's where you'll find the cut line. The top 70 drivers so far are in, but by barely enough. There's only 2 points separating Trevor Huff at the 70th spot and Barrett Paulimus for the last spot in the top 70. Matt Danson, who went into Darlington with a struggle, got into the outside wall, somehow ended up finishing inside the top 5, garnering his second top 10 of the 2024 Road to Pro season. He is 8 points out, and you look from 67th through 72nd, Daniel, and you've only got a 20-point spread. It seems pretty large, but when you think about the amount of drivers that are going to battle here tonight at Charlotte, it really comes down to minute numbers and very small margins.
Indeed, it's going to come down to very small margins. And I remember last year at the top 70 cut line, it came down to a dead high. So there's been so many years where it's been very close on points, but there's times where it's even ended in a tie as well. So very much a lot at stake is on hand for a lot of these drivers here tonight, and it's going to take the finest of margins to see who advances to round 2 at the end of 160 laps.
It's going to be a long race, the longest that we've seen here in this 2024 Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series calendar. Let's get one last look at it before we embark onto round 2 in about a month's time. We started this campaign at Daytona International Speedway. We've gone through several mile-and-a-half races. From then until now, Charlotte Motor Speedway, the final step for all of these drivers in order to make it to the top 70. Then the top 70 will be put into snake splits in round 2 beginning at Chicagoland, and then they'll try to fight for the 20 spots available to make it into the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series that will take place later this fall, and they will decide those 20 by going to battle at Homestead Miami Speedway near the end of the summer. So they're safe to say that, Daniel, this is really the first hurdle onto what's going to be many, many obstacles in the way before you can call yourself a member of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and one of the 40 best in eNASCAR stock car racing. What's sort of the pressure like driver-wise they enter this race, knowing that this is the first of many challenges they have to face?
Yeah, absolutely. Like tonight is really, you're going to get the start of a feeling of what it's like to be on that cut line, whether it's going through or it's going to be on the outside looking in. Right now, it is tonight. It's make or break for a lot of these guys that you see scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Guys like we see Matt Danson, Kyle Dragon, Nick Olson that are below that cut line. This is their chance to come in clutch, have that Game 7 moment, to get back above that cut line and do everything they need to advance to the next round. Where round 2 is going to be looking entirely different than what they've been facing here in round 1. So they need to be really prepared for that. But right now, we got a long race ahead of us that they need to show why they deserve to be in round 2, first of all.
240 miles on tap for this race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Before we get into all the details of what's on tap here in this final race and what's in part of the points race going into the race for the checkered flag and to the green flag tonight, let's take a look at what happened several weeks ago at the track Too Tough, Too Tame, and it all started with Michael Mitchum at the head of the front row, taking everyone to the green flag. Daniel, this one was a lot of fun, but it did get scrappy at some points, including this fight here. Justin Bolton, Abraham Vella, the 24 truck going sent into the outside wall early in the race, and then drivers like Matt Danson having trouble. He would rebound, but it looked strugglesome early. We had a lot of drivers getting through the mix before a caution came out under green flag cycles, and right after, Connor Euroshak took the race lead.
Yeah, that seemed to be a norm over the last couple of races. We saw this at Dover as well, where we have the very long green flag run, and then we have a few spells. As we see Michael Mitchum there, I believe that was a wheel issue that he had there. He had a frozen, or his PC froze from what I remember. But then you see a lot of these guys just having so many issues throughout the night. And like you said, we had cautions in the middle of pit cycles, which led to this man, Joe Armstrong, who stayed out, got the cautions he needed, And as you see, we went, I believe, using all 3 overtimes to get this race decided. And when it was all said and done, it was Joe Armstrong who took the checkered flag first and is all but locked in to round 2 as he is very high up in the points, battling for the points lead with some guys that are not in the field tonight. So it'll be interesting to see if Joe Armstrong can come out as the overall round 1 champion when it's all said and done.
One of those drivers that for sure is locked into round 2. There are a lot of drivers who cannot say the same in terms of their fate to make it into the second round. But Armstrong, that was his second Road to Pro win in 2024. Picked one up earlier in the season, but his first one in second split. We've had nobody other than Connor Yuroshack get 2 wins in the same split, at least as far as we're concerned, or at least in second split. Yuroshack has been the only driver able to get checkered flags twice in this specific split with our coverage on FTN. Again, our coverage is only a narrow part of what's a really wide fight between a bunch of drivers going into this race. We talked about it, 20 points separating the 7 spots between 67th and about 74th. You can give it a little more than 20 points, but it's still a pretty small gap between those drivers as we get into tonight's race. We mentioned mile and a half sweep.
And it's played its own history, even in the eNASCAR world as well, as we saw on Tuesday night, Garrett Lowe just getting the win over Jimmy Mullis by 1/1000th of a second, the closest finish in the history of eNASCAR Coke Series racing. So this is seeing a lot of history from Charlotte Motor Speedway, even in the sim, being one of the longest and one of the most popular tracks on the service. We might create a little more history here tonight as well, as we saw last year in second split, ended in a photo finish as well. Could we see that tonight as well?
We possibly could see it. Some fireworks from that photo finish just several days ago. Let's take you trackside and give you the starting grid of the final race in round 1 for second split of the 2024 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, where on the pole it will be James Wenzel for Altus Engineering takes his Chevrolet to the top spot with a 29.713. He'll be joined alongside by Robbie Vrabel Jr. in his Maconi Setup Shop Chevrolet. He'll be on the outside of the front row, taking us first to the green flag. 2-time winner in second split, Connor Yuroshack wants to make it a trifecta out of Charlotte this evening. Garrison Hogan joins us on the outside of row number 2. He will occupy 4th place. Nate Stewart, who was more than 10 points out last year to make it into round 2, this time more comfortable in 29th place. Loves this track. He rolls off from inside row 3. Will Cooley on the outside of him in position number 6. John Hall and Jose Solis Jr. round out your top 8, and back to row number 5 to complete the top 10. Zeke Willis in the 20 and Santiago Tires in the 18 truck.
And looking at P11, we got Logan Helton, and then Dalton Milam is going to round out row number 6 in the 12th spot. Kevin King is actually making his appearance in the second split here tonight after being in a top split all season. He starts 13 with Jack Coyne going off in 14. Starting at P15 and row number 8 is going to be Matt Danson, who had a great run at Darlington. Helping him, he's going to need a lot of points tonight to go to round 2. And Ryan Andrew is going to be on the outside of row number 8. And Craig Yansack starting in row number 9 in 17th place, along with Dylan Pettis starting in 18th. And then rounding out the top 20, we got Kyle Dragon and David Brown. Rounding out the top 20, as you'll see the rest of the starting grid as we're coming to the green now, Kenneth.
Take a look at the rest of the field. 13 more after your top 20 to make it 33 trucks complete. At the start of this race, 160 laps, 240 miles, the longest race we've seen in Road to Pro this season. Gonna prove the ultimate challenge for those looking to enter the top 70. Out of turn 4, James Wenzel and Robbie Vrabel Jr. lead us to the green. Let's cap off round 1 with a bang. Green flag in the air from Charlotte.
going to complete the first lap here. James Wetzel's going to lead that first lap. Here comes Connor Eurojack. He's shown his strength here in the second split. He's going for that second spot. He's going to get clear here.
It's underneath. The 23 truck is able to clear. Down low, Garrison Hogan in that black, white, and red. Number 36, Toyota Tundra TRD Pro makes his lane to the inside. Hogan moving up to third, and already some quick decisions made in the opening several laps. Nate Stewart occupying the last spot in the top 5, and Will Cooley, John Hall going door to door for the first spot inside the top 6. They go entering 1 and 2. Early on, everyone trying to hug that blue and white line at the very bottom of the racetrack. There's a philosophy to running down there. You can get your left side tires on there, Daniel, and get a bit more grip. Drivers looking to do that on the fresh tires early and maximize the amount of throttle they can use in the opening run.
Absolutely. With how not there, these trucks, they don't have a lot of horsepower and they have quite a bit of downforce, so they're going to be able to use a lot of throttle, but there's still going to be quite a bit of fall off as this race goes on. Now, you see here, you see these guys battling side by side. Sooner or later, this outside lane is going to start coming into its own here. We're going to see a lot of really good racing here across the next probably it's going to take a little bit for it to get working, but we should expect some really good racing here tonight. We're already seeing it with battles between John Hall, Will Cooley, and others.
This three-way fight, that is for 6th place. John Hall in that Nexus Esports Ford F-150 patrolling the way through with Jose Salas, Santiago Tires, Will Cooley, Zeke Willis, all these drivers going at it in these small pack of trucks on the inside lane on lap 5. Will Cooley's going to fall out. Looks like some separation from about an 8th on back. You've got a pretty decent, sizable group of trucks that are sort of clustering together, but are falling off the pace from all of these trucks here in the opening 10. Seem to be just all single file and running their own line. No stopping James Wenzel at the moment, though. Euroshack looking to catch up like he did 2 weeks ago at Darlington Raceway, and while Euroshack was sort of taken out of contention, Daniel, by the way of a caution coming out in the middle of green flag stops. Boy, there was a lot to be said about Euroshack's speed in that one. Darlington is usually one of the hardest, if not the hardest tracks to drive on the oval side of things. Euroshack made it look easy, was able to get by Michael Mitchum. Had the yellow not flown, you could be arguing that Euroshack would have 3 wins in second split, trying to chase down James Wenzel here in the opening 6 laps.
Really just picking up where he has left off week in and week out. Like I said, we could be talking about a 3-time winner here in split 2 with Connor Euroshack. But of course, stuff didn't go his way a couple weeks ago at Darlington. But as you see, he qualifies well, he races well, and he's up there when it's all said and done. So he has shown his strength. No doubt it's going to be a threat when we get to that second round, but it's definitely going to be interesting. Begin the snake split, trying to get the mount right there, as we see everyone going hard down here side by side, but a lot of single file. Everyone trying to preserve their tires early, because it will be very easy to burn up your tires if you go too hard. That is something I found out on Tuesday night. Very unfortunate for me. But right now, everyone's racing smart. Like I said, longest road to pro race we have had in probably 2 years. So these guys are just feeling out their trucks. But they got a long race. If you ain't feeling good right now, you got a lot of time working. But at least probably 2 pit stops if we go through this.
Well, hey, give yourself a little bit of credit. You were able to move up to the field on fresh tires late in that race. So I wouldn't say it was a total loss.
Well, from someone who got a pit road penalty and spent over half the race a lap down, being able to pit, I think that that's a pretty good consolation prize. That's probably the race that we're going to see as we get down to the end of this thing, because people are going to get desperate, because there are in this race that are below that cut line, and they're going to need to really go to work tonight, especially when it comes down to the end of it. The restart's going to be aggressive, people are going to be aggressive, and there's probably going to be a lot of cautions, and probably, once again, like it's been the whole season, probably a lot of overtakes to go with.
Speak of drivers that are below the cut line going into tonight, you're looking at a side-by-side battle. This is for 14th place, Matt Danson in his Altus Engineering Chevrolet, using the high side to get around, dragging their 4th position, and he'll hold on to the spot. I think actually that was Jack Coyne that he got by in between 2 of the similarly looking Nexus trucks, sort of a spotter's nightmare here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But Danson comes into this race -8 from the top 70 territory. Danson talked to us 2 weeks ago after finishing top 3 at Darlington, and basically spoke about how it was basically a last-minute decision to run that race several weeks ago. It was sort of a surprise to him that he was able to finish as well as he did. Strategy and the caution fell down exactly exactly where Danson needed them to fall, and at the end of that, came away with the top 3 to at least give himself a shot where he could rock on and try to bring his Chevrolet into round 2. Pretty happy to see his teammate James Wenzel leading the field early here, crossing the line for lap number 12. But Danson is one of those that will shine the spotlight on basically all night long, Daniel, because he's one of those that is just so marginally close to make it to the top 70. He has to hope for a solid race tonight, but he also has to pray that everything goes his way on all of the other splits that are going on across the service.
Absolutely, and talking about Matt Danson, he was involved in one of the cautions and had quite a bit of damage in his truck a couple weeks back at Darlington, and he still rallied and came back with a very, very good finish. So even if you have trouble early like Matt Danson at Darlington, as long as you stay in the race and you just survive, and you never know what's going to happen. We've seen crazy things happen in the race. So you got to keep an eye out for that third truck. He's got to come out. He's coming to play, and right now Alta Esports is looking pretty good with James Wetzel out here pacing the field so far. As we're looking at Nate Stewart, he's moving to the field, started 5th. He's up to 3rd. He talked with him last week at the end of Darlington. He was looking forward to this race. He loves this racetrack, and he thinks he has a good shot at having a good run tonight.
He said verbatim after Darlington, said, I am so looking forward to it. I love long races. I love Charlotte. It's probably one of my most favorite ovals. Missed round 2 last season, like we said, by at least 10 or so points, but this time around, much better situation. 29th in points, probably not worried about getting kicked out of top 70 territory. He's got a fast truck right now patrolling the outside to give Connor Yuroshak a push to get that Nexus Esports Ford F-150 to the top spot. First lead change of the night here at lap 14, and Nate Stewart uses the top side to get around James Wenzel. Stewart up to P2.
Nate Stewart up to P2, but here we go, same story. Just another chapter. Connor Yuroshak up to the front, up to the point, and he is now controlling the pace. But now we'll see as we get further into this race, how is his long run going to look? We've seen he's been very strong in either the short run and the long run. He's been very good across the whole season, but we'll see how it comes. No matter what track we go to, he is so good, and he's always running up at the front. And he's definitely been carrying the Nexus Esports banner very, very well this season.
In one of Yuroshak's 2 wins in second split this season, his first came at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Very different mile and a half, a lot more grip, very different to drive than Charlotte, but nonetheless, Yuroshak has a lot of that success when it comes down to these bigger ovals, and James Wenzel seems to be on a fall-off here 16 laps in. The opening stint pace didn't seem to last all too long, and here comes Nexus Esports, another one for the charge, entering the top 3. This is John Hall in his red, white, and blue. Obviously, Memorial Day themed paint scheme for this weekend's festivities, making the move under Wenzel, trying to get his left side tires on the very bottom of the racetrack. Wenzel being able to hold on, and we've got some more trucks just flirting with the top lane. This is one of those tracks, Daniel, to where you can use those higher groups to your advantage, and you talked about that 1/1000th of a second finish we had on Tuesday night between Jimmy Mullis and the winner, Garrett Lowe. Well, Lowe used the high side in 1 and 2 in order to get the run to punt Mullis out the way in 3 and 4. So this outside lane, something we'll be talking about over the course of the night and through this run.
There's definitely going to be something to talk about, and then it's going to be very interesting to talk about how the trucks are going to handle and how much the handling is going to change once this track takes a lot more rubber. Because obviously the track started fairly clean, and as the more laps we go on, the track's going to rubber up, the handling is going to change, and the groove, we may see the groove move around a little bit. As you see Nate Stewart, he is right on the fence, right rim, right on the outside. And right now trying to set up a run on Yuroshak, trying to go for the race lead.
And here's Yuroshak, tap of the outside wall.
Ooh,
to the outside is Nate Stewart. Second lead change on auction for tonight at lap 19. Stewart up high, Yuroshak down low. This is the opposite line we've been seeing out of either of these guys since the drop of lap 10. And Stewart uses the top side to get around, and Nate Stewart to the race lead for the first time at Charlotte.
Definitely a rare mistake there by Yuroshak getting into the fence right there. You definitely see a lot of damage on the right side door. And it's opened the door for Nate Stewart to take the lead here on lap 19 as we begin to start lap number 20. And right now, let's see what kind of pace that is. He's going to continue rim around the fence. He's found his groove at the top of the track, but how much is that going to wear his tires? As I found out early in the race on Tuesday, if you do that way too much, it's easy to wear out your tires. So he's got to be careful of that.
And specifically the right rear, when you use a ton of throttle at the outside of the racetrack, when you carry so much speed through the corner, that right rear is going to start to wear a lot more, and you'll start to have a little more sideways action than you would at the start of the race. So you see side by side, Garrison Hogan seems to be falling back a bit. Jose Solis Jr. runs into this race in a pretty decent spot in Road to Pro standings, using the boards to rip them through 1 and 2, trying to get the run out of the second corner to beat Hogan, and he does. So move Jose Solis Jr. up to 6th place, and Robbie Bravo Jr., who started tonight in 2nd, is falling back to 8th, but still looking to make a comeback happen here early on in this first run. For the most part, everybody else, they're all in their own situation. They're all running their own race, and they understand it's a pretty long one here tonight from Charlotte, so you wouldn't really want to risk your stuff this early into the race. For those drivers that does have to watch their back, though, is Trevor Huff in the number 42. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. 2 points separate Huff and Bear Paulimas for the last spot in the top 70. Bear Paulimas is not in this race in second split. So while Huff has to watch his back for this split, he has to keep an eye on Paulimas and all of the other guys who are still within range for top 70 territory into this race. 25th Huff runs right now. Not the best start, 24 laps in the books.
Yeah, not the best start for Trevor Huff, and this is, like, it's a long race. Unlike like some of the sprint races we had, like normally this race could be 100 laps, but now it's 160 laps, 60 more laps, and potentially another pit stop to be able to go and do the work. But right now he's got to do it because the laps are ticking away, and this race could fly by in a hurry if we go all green all the way. So Trevor Huff, he needs to get to work here.
So far, trapped behind Austin Hamilton, got into it instead of Abraham Vella in turns 1 and 2 at Darlington 2 weeks ago. Like we saw in that highlight video to open the show, Bolton trying to recover, and he wants to make another bid at the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. There are a lot of drivers here who have a shot at getting back to the territory, and sort of a blessing in disguise because there are a lot of guys who haven't even been close or have never driven an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race. Kevin King, though, has a lot of experience in that category. Recently made it to the Coke Series, got relegated, and is the #1 truck in tonight's race because he has the highest iRating. He spent a lot of this Road to Pro season, Daniel, in top split, first try at second split racing, and here he is moving inside the top 10, trying to work on Santiago Tires right in front of him.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it has been a season to forget for Kevin King. I believe only 1 top 10 finish across the whole season. It's been a season filled with wrecks, bad luck, and just everything in between. So Kevin King, by the looks of the points, I don't think is going to advance to round 2. He is way too far back in the points. So kind of just having a pro season for 2024. Trying to have a good run, but it's actually nice to see Kevin King down here in second split. See if he can maybe just end his season on a high note if he's not able to make it to round 2.
One of those OG drivers, even from the NR 2003 days and beyond. Kevin King, a legend on the iRacing service, and talk about fellow Coke Series drivers that were in the series several years ago. You look at Santiago Tires, also a former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. So some of those eNASCAR veterans making their way to the top 10. Keep an eye on them. Battle for the race lead ignited once more. Yarrow Shack trying to use the inside to get around Stewart, who gets closer and closer to the outside wall as we tick lap after lap. Cross to the line, lap 28. We might not have a consensus leader. Hero Shack uses the bottom. He slides up in 3 and 4. The slide job successful. Hero Shack back to the front. And look at this, Jose Solis Jr. using the grass to get under Nate Stewart. That's for second place.
That is for second place. Hero Shack, we thought we had damage, but I guess that truck is still to get back to the race. As you mentioned, Jose Solis, he's looking to make his name known up here. He's going to go for second on Nate Stewart. As you see James Wetzel, he's trying to fight back to the field here. And John Hall, you see him, he's going for 4th place on James Wetzel. Lots of side-by-side racing. These guys are sliding. They're all over the place. The tires are wearing out. Handling's coming into play. and we're really starting to see some of the comers and goers come up to the front of the field here.
And this is where Jose Salas Jr.'s truck is coming alive right now. He's going to slide way up in front of Nate Stewart, get a bit of the dirty air, but unfortunately, Stewart's up high to the outside wall. Stewart does not have enough momentum to execute the crossover, and all the while, Euroshack is checking out 0.4 of a second. Back to these guys battling for second place. Stewart trying to use the crossover to get underneath John Hall, James Wenzel, and you add everyone else into the mix. Zeke Willis, Robbie Bravo Jr., Kevin King, Garrison Hogan, our biggest battle. It's a cluster of trucks back to turn 1.
It is a mega cluster. You see Nate Stewart, he is starting to fall back a little bit, and he's starting to kind of check up this outside lane. You see James Wetzel behind him. John Hall, he made the pass on Wetzel. Now he's trying to make a pass on Nate Stewart. Stewart just kind of trying to hang on to his truck here. We're starting to see a little bit of a gaggle for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th places. As you see, everyone's running right to the fence, all the way down to the painted line. So lots of good racing. We see Kevin King, he's trying to make his name known into the picture.
Kevin King down low on the Zeke Willis machine and trying to follow the footsteps of John Hall. Several trucks using the bottom. It seems as though 31 laps in, everyone has sort of migrated to the top of this 24 degrees of banking at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Not many of these trucks are staying loyal to that blue and white line at the bottom, so it's all about the migration here, utilizing the lines that work best for them and their setups. And you also add in the oval refresh. That's something that's really played a factor into using the different lines specifically here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. King is going to have to tread the waters lightly, though. He doesn't want to get into any incidents. He doesn't want to get any drivers, though, that have to misstep out of the corner from the outside lane. This time getting around Nate Stewart, who seems to be dropping the anchor. 32 laps in the books.
Definitely dropping the anchor is Kevin King. He started right around the 13th position, if I remember, and he is moving forward real quickly, rolling that bottom. His truck really likes running the bottom, trying to paint that blue line or get right as close to it as possible without trying to slip. And he's going to try to make the pass on Nate Stewart. It's not quite clear. Nate Stewart's going to try to hang on his right rear. Kevin King is now going to get clear and he's going to take up that spot as we got some door banging here for P number 7.
That is Zeke Willis you're looking on board with. Still looking underneath Nate Stewart. Santiago Tires going to be the newest addition to this quartet. And James Wenzel, your pole sitter, has not seen P1 action since he lost the lead to Connor Euroshak. He's sort of been defending more than playing the offense here. Looks to spread the middle 3 wide on Stewart and Von Willis. We can't really make the space work in his favor. He'll have to push that Ford truck on the outside lane. So great side-by-side battles we're seeing here 34 laps in. And as we control further on into this run, and NASCAR Euroshack continues to lead this field by about 0.3 of a second, Daniel, we have to talk about the strategy, and that's something that Nate Stewart brought up apart from his love for Charlotte Motor Speedway. Said he loves long races. This one the longest of the Road to Pro season at 160 laps, which means it opens the door for the strategy. A lot of times we're seeing 1 or 2 stops. We're sure of what the pit stops are going to look like in the race. Tonight, though, way longer outing. How do you attack this one with a longer lap board with 160 instead of the usual 120 mile and a half?
Well, simple as that is you have more pit stops. You have more opportunities to make adjustments to your race truck to be able to make it faster, make it better, and don't forget all those cautions that could throw a wrench into those plans for a lot of these guys. But right now, seeing a lot more side-by-side racing right throughout the field. We are looking on pit stops very soon as we see Garrison Hogan. He's going for a spot on Robbie Bravo Jr. And lots of great racing right now.
They're all going at it. As Bravo uses the outside, Garrison Hogan has kept his foot into the top 6 or so. The kick in the tires. Toyota Tundra, he slides up in front of Bravo, makes the spot complete. And look who's trying to enter himself into the conversation. That is Logan Helton. It is number 63, Roasted Gems Coffee, Ford F-150. But Logan Helton did not have the best race at Darlington 2 weeks ago. He's one of those guys that is pretty out of contention for the top 70 going into tonight. He needs almost a miracle. He is a little under 50 points out of making it past the cut line and into round 2 this year. He's right under James Wenzel, who happens to be, funny enough, right in front of him. So those two guys looking for a great run tonight. And here comes Helton down low, looked at 3 wide, looking underneath Bravo, and now under Wenzel. This is for 7th place.
Logan Helton looking to make his name, running up the Nexus Esports banner as well. The Nexus Esports trucks seem to really be coming to life on this long run. As we see with Euroshack, we see with John Hall, and now Logan Helton. He's looking to make his name. If he's going to take that spot, for sure. And now he's going to go, oh, cuts to the bottom right in front of his teammate there. We're going to run the middle. He's going to try to set another run. He's going to go after James Wenzel. He's going to keep moving through the field.
Now 4 trucks from the Nexus camp inside the top 10. You got Euroshak, John Hall in second. He just got by Jose Solis Jr. Then, of course, Logan Helton and Zeke Willis back there in the 9th spot. So Nexus Esports certainly has the setup dialed in for this Road to Pro night from Charlotte. Not a lot of big movers throughout the field. The other driver we may have to talk about tonight is Kyle Dragon, who is part of that Nexus Esports with Front Row Motorsports camp. The 13 truck running in 14th currently in this door-to-door fight with Tommy Gossett. For the top 15 position, and Kyle Dragon going into this race is 16 points out. Certainly still a viable shot to get into round 2, but based on how the other guys are doing near the cut line, might be dangerous for Dragon near the end of this one. And like we talked about, Danny, we came down to a tie last year for round 2, so you never know what could happen, and Dragon might be part of the emotional roller coaster that we've seen happen so often in Road to Pro, specifically from the first to the second round as Nate Stewart continues to drop through the field. He's fallen to 14th.
Yeah, Nate Stewart kind of looking like me on Tuesday night, kind of just having a really good run early and then just casually just falling back through the field. Maybe just struggling, try to maybe push too hard to get to the lead, and the tires were kind of falling off, going away from him a little bit. But that's all right. That's a long race, lots of racing to go. Needs to make some adjustments to get that thing working on the long run. So it's not all gloom and doom for that number 4 machine. But right now, he needs to get Murray to maybe make some adjustments. As we see Jose Solis, he's up on the fence, trying to run down Euroshak, but here comes Kevin King and John Hall. They want to join this back.
Well, John Hall made his bid for second, somehow fell back, and Jose Solis Jr. is ripping the boards. Talk about running the high line. Solis is doing exactly that, and it's minuscule when you look at the distance between the right side of his truck and the very outside wall. Here's a crossover for the lead on Euroshak into turn 1.
Into turn 1, and he's going to try to get to that blue line, kind of flip it off. He's going to try to run the middle here. Maybe try to pull a little side draft. And Euroshak, oh, he's going to chop off Jose Solis down the back straight away, down to turn number 3. Solis, he's going to go back onto the fence. One of the best at running the fence on iRacing. He's going to try to get a big run here from turn 3 and 4. And Kevin King, he looks to join this battle in P number 3. And then there's John Hall right behind him in P4. Got a nice 4-truck race here, battle for the lead, 40 laps in.
If there's any driver that knows how to experiment at the very limit, it's going to be Jose Solis Jr. I remember back in 2021 when iRacing added a bit more grip to these higher lanes at the 1.5 mile, Charlotte, Homestead, some of those included. Solis was one of the first drivers in official racing at the top level to run the fence and say, hey, why not? I'll try it if it works. I'll rip the fence at Homestead. I'll rip the fence at Charlotte. I'll do whatever I can to get this high line working. And now with this over refresh to where you can get a little more grip on the cooler high side lanes when there's not much energy put into them, Solis is also saying why not in that aspect. And he's moved himself to second. He's created a 4-truck moving from first all the way back to John Hall in 4th, and then Santiago Gutierrez is about a second back from that Hall machine in the 03. So Solis trying to get the best of Euroshak, getting into clean air, managing turn 4, gonna get the run off the final corner, but he has to watch in his mirror because Kevin King and John Hall are there. If this 9 truck makes a mistake, Solis back to the inside for the lead at lap 45.
He is going for the lead to the middle of the racetrack. Euroshak's going to run the very top. Kevin King's going to run the very bottom. We could have a 3 abreast battle for the race lead, and John Hall just waiting in the wings for maybe someone to make a mistake. As here comes Kevin King. He's going to try to go for the second spot around the outside of Jose Solis. He's going to try to take advantage of that. Solis to the bottom, King to the middle, Euroshak to the top. And Solis, he's going to pit. Pit stops are kicking off here.
Here we are, first pit stop of the night from the lead pack, and it starts with Jose Solis Jr., who missed the bottom the last corner. Seems to have used up what was left of his Goodyear Eagles. He's on to pit road for the first time tonight. There are several other takers. One of them, Daniel Nanny, in the 30 truck as the battle for the lead reignites. Kevin King, the new challenger. John Hall right behind, the 3-truck tandem. Moves into turns 3 and 4. We'll take a look if anyone else comes down pit road this time by from your top 3. Answer going to be a resounding no by these guys. But there's Daniel Nanny out of the Right Go camp. Daytona winner this season. Has finished outside the top 20 the last 3 times we ran in second to the before a turnaround. And he follows Solis and now several others behind him on pit road.
several others coming behind him. That's Ryan Andrew. He's going to be one of the takers coming to pit road, and many others coming to pit road as we're kicking off the green flag pit cycles. As Kevin King John Hall is now taking over the second spot from Kevin King. Is now making a Nexus 1-2. Eurotac very close to the wall coming off turn 4 right there. As we got a Nexus 1-2, Kevin King following in P3. And now it's just a matter of when are these guys going to pit? How long are they going to run their tires? How long are they going to run their fuel? Just a matter of waiting to see when these guys are going to land the pit stop.
Well, usually at the mile and a half, when you go green this long, is trucking the outside wall, and Zeke Willis back in 11th. He falls back through the top 15. I think that's the second time Willis has struck to the outside fence. He's going to fall considerably through the field. There's a heap of trucks there looking to take spots away from him, including the fresh tire truck of Jose Solis, who got in right behind Dalton Miller. We might just be 3 wide entering the bottle going back to turn 1. But around this mark of the race, lap 49, lap 50 is where you see the trucks consider the entry to pit road. And look at that, how much tires matter here at the track like this. Those drivers going straight through the middle. Solis moving in 3 wide and making it work.
Making it work indeed. Got to make those new tires work. But the problem is he's got to navigate traffic, which can really affect the lap time. It's Connor Eurojack. He's going to peel off the racetrack. He's going to come to pit road for his first stop of the night.
Eurojack
yeah, this is another thing to consider. We have had a lot of green flag cycles over the last couple of races, but there's been that dreaded caution flag that has really ruined a lot of people's plans. But so far, so good for green flag cycles. We're going to complete 50 laps this time by, as John Hall is going to now assume the race lead. Kevin King chasing him down. It looks like John Hall, he's peeling to the bottom of the racetrack. He might be coming to pit road here, and it looks like he is. Is Kevin King going to assume the race lead?
John Hall hopping on the brakes. He's the second Nexus truck to come in, following Hero Shack, and we're going to take a look at exactly how the top 20 are feeling about all this. They are also making calls to enter pit road. This one a large group, starting with James Wenzel. There's Tommy Gossett and his Ryko number 80 Ford, and also Kyle Dragon, one of those who is barely on the outskirts of the top 70 heading into round 2. So these drivers all making their calls here at lap 51, and we should expect Kevin King and several others inside the top 10 to make their calls considerably soon. Hopping on the brakes is King. Tires to follow. They're down pit road this time by.
They are down pit road running 1, 2, 2 former Coke drivers. Looking to have a solid end to round 1 here. They're coming down pit road. Looks like it's going to be a simple 4 tires of fuel and any adjustments they want to make. As now we're going to look at Logan Helton. He's going to assume the race lead. And Matt Hansen, he's still on the racetrack. He's going to go long. Kind of like a similar strategy he did at Darlington, where he had to go long to get a caution. He got that caution and got a good finish out of it. Kind of trying to play the same thing again. But right now a lot of people are seeing, what is the strategy now? Do they just try to run as long as possible? And no, that's not going to be the case for Logan Helton or any of these guys. They're coming to pit road for service.
There's Hogan right behind. Danson in 3rd. Anthony Permoda in the 19 to follow as well. Funny enough, Danson and Permoda were those two involved in a caution midway through the Darlington race. I was about to give the idea of if you're one of those drivers who's hanging back from top 70 territory, and either you have yourself in a position where you're at a long shot, or you are within single digits to top 70 and that cut line, is it worth staying out as long as possible? If you can get the race lead a couple of laps, don't just have yourself up front, pray for a yellow, or just pray that your cycle will give you the freshest tires than everyone else and give you the best amount of track position in order to regain all of it in a decent amount of time. Is it really worth it if you're one of those drivers hanging back in the points and desperately needing a solid run? Nonetheless, off of the pit stops, Jose Solis Jr. should assume the race lead. They're waiting for Sean Anderson and Cody Johnson to take themselves onto pit road. Dalton Millam, who we haven't talked about all night long after starting in 12th, has moved his way up to 2nd. Wesley Parker, another truck we haven't talked much about throughout the night. He occupies the last spot on the podium. And then you get a bunch of other drivers before you get to Connor Euroshak, who sits in 8th right in front of Daniel Nanny.
Yeah, and you see the varying strategies. Some guys opted to come really early, just like Jose Solis, the first driver to really kick off those pit stops. And then you see the effect. We'll see how long it takes for guys like Euroshak, Kevin King, guys like that, to see how long it's going to take for them to run down Solis, because it was many laps, like around 5 lap pressure tires that they have compared to Jose and the others in front of him. So we're looking forward to see how that's going to play out, as he's now going to officially assume the race lead, as Cody Johnson, who's just leading the race, is taken to pit road. And it looks like we are going to complete this green flag cycle without a caution. Let's keep racing. Good job, guys.
I'd imagine, Daniel, that there were probably some of those memories from Darlington 2 weeks ago where, you know, everything was going well, the green flag cycle, all of a sudden the caution comes out and it changes the entire complexion of the race, where Joe Armstrong, who wasn't a factor all night long, all of a sudden becomes one. Same for Matt Danson. I think we're seeing some of the new drivers get into the fold here based on this first green flag cycle, but without that yellow flag. And to note, Jose Solis Jr. has about a 4-lap disadvantage on his set of tires to 5th place Connor Euroshak, who's trying to work his way past his teammate David L. Brown. Not sure that Brown is really going to offer Euroshak all too much resistance, so Euroshak should slide up into 4th place, chasing down Wesley Parker and Dalton Millam the next time by for 2nd and 3rd place. But that difference in tires will certainly matter over the long run. Jose Solis does have to be mindful of how he uses his tires here in this first part of the race. We should know that at least maybe 2 or 3 stops, Daniel, necessary for these drivers to get to the end of the 160 laps. If we go green, another yellow flag will, of course, change everything in its tail. But right now seems to be calm as Solis Jr. gets the lead. Euroshak trying to chase down Parker and Millam, who have separated. Battle for 2nd, basically non-existent right now.
Non-existent right now, and then like you mentioned, Jose managing the race right now. He's got the clean air, and it looks like his truck was very fast in the long run. So if he can just manage his tires and just kind of let those guys catch him without really abusing his stuff, and if, as long as his long run speed can come back in, I really think he can maintain it. But 5 laps is 4 laps, 5 laps, whatever it is, it's a huge difference on tires. So we'll see what happens. We look back here at Dylan Pettis. Back here, he's in no battle.
Pettis leading a group of 3 or so trucks. Joshua Dickens right behind. Caden Rush in his Nexus Esports truck there behind. So is Craig Yansack in his 3 Chevrolet Silverado. Looks like Rush and Dickens will go side by side. That's going to be for 16th. And Dylan Pettis for Team Conti, one of those drivers that is still behind top 70 territory. Had at least some momentum building for him at Texas Motor Speedway, but still not has been able to finish inside the top 10. His best finish was 11th in the season, and that came the way on race number 3 at Atlanta Motor Speedway on the Super Speedway configuration. So it has not been the best campaign for Pettis. He still theoretically has a shot, 38 points off of 70th place. Watch this, 3 wide. Logan Helton charging underneath Dickens and Yansack entering turns 3 and 4.
Logan Helton, he's got a little bit fresh tires, so he was one of the late ones to pit on that pit cycle, so obviously he's going to have really fresh tires here. He's trying to make his moves as he's going to go to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to battle around some of these guys way back here in the back of the field. We're currently running, looks to be in the 18th position, and right now trying to join, hopefully maybe join his next teammates at the front of the field, guys like Euroshag and John Hall and others. But as you see, Logan Helton going for that long strategy as we ride on board with them to get a really nice look at how to get around this Charlotte Motor Speedway. Right down the blue line, that's where all the grip is. Come swinging off turn 4, carry all the momentum with how little power these trucks have. You got to carry the momentum. You're going to see, let's see, we're going to go down into turns number 1 and 2 here. Go right down to the bottom of the racetrack, carry all the momentum, take a good arc into the corner, carry all the speed.
You know, when I was listening to Malik Ray talk about how to run 1.5 miles, he always mentioned the specific factor of trying to arc it into the corner, and as soon as you feel the car turn into the apex, that's when you start applying the throttle. And Helton is trying to do that on the blue and white line. He missed the full apex at the bottom of the last corner or so, but Helton is making good progress here. He's still trying to make a battle out of himself and Craig Yansack for position ahead. But really good to see Logan Helton in tonight's race. He's been patrolling nicely from road to road, looking to get into top 70 territory and still theoretically has a shot at it. Here's a battle inside the top 10. James Wenzel losing out on Santiago Tires. Keeps his way on by, now looking for the next truck in line, Trevor Huff. Remember, we talked about it, is right on that top 70 line. It's going to fall back to 9th, possibly 10th here with Tires and Wenzel going by. Pretty sizable group of trucks that go back to Tommy Gossett and Daniel Nanny, the pair of Ryko Ford F-150s, settling it amongst themselves. Remember, all of this in the charge to get up to Jose Solis Jr., but it has not been formidable, although John Hall is trying to chip in as much as he can.
John Hall trying to chip in that lead. As you see, he has taken the 2nd spot away from Euroshak. He did go a little bit longer than Euroshak on his tires. Put John Hall into the mix for the battle for this race lead and battle for this win if the race stays the way it is. And as you see, Jose Solis, he is already moving up to the middle of the racetrack. He's starting to slowly move up, trying to find some grip as the tires wear out. And he's trying to manage the gap, maintain the gap, and just try to overall maintain his lead. Because you know those two Nexus trucks headed very fast at the start of this race. And they're going to keep closing in as this race goes on. We are going to complete lap 65, all under green, no caution so far.
Pretty fast in traffic and in clean air, those Nexus trucks are. And to note, John Hall has about 5 lap fresher tires than Jose Solis Jr. does in the race lead. So as long as Jose Solis stays out and runs the different lines, it could give that plentiful opportunities for John Hall to move his way into the top spot. He's been able to get around Euroshack, and I don't think Euroshack really has anything for Hall at the moment. Your top 3 have fully broken away, and then you start to see more of the fresh tire trucks come into the mix. Kevin King, who was fighting for top 3 position right before the green flag cycle kicked off, he's moved himself into 4th. And then you look at guys like Torres, like James Wenzel, that are starting to find themselves in the...
See a good battle right here with Santiago Perez and that looks to be Dalton Malam. Santiago, one of the late hitters as well, trying to make use of those fresh tires. Look at the gap he pulls on those guys, pulling a gap on Wesley Parker and James Wetzel and all of those other guys. We continue to see Jose Solis. He's continuing to lead the pack as we're closing in on lap number 70.
But he is seeing that Hall machine get bigger and bigger in the rearview mirror. That last time by, Hall set a 31.7, Jose Solis 31.8, and this time the discrepancy grows larger for Solis. Hall is going to run the high side, looking to get a run on the 9, but so far not good enough. But Hall is going to make a charge at it. Euroshack has sort of fallen back into the dust. It's going to be a one-on-one in several laps. Hall down low. He's got a nose underneath Solis. This is for the race lead at lap 69.
Battle for the lead on lap 69. John Hall with those fresher tires going to go after Jose Solis. Solis, he's going to cut that off, block to the bottom there. Going to continue to hold this lead. He's going to continue ripping that top side lane like he's been doing so good this whole race. John Hall back to the bottom. Fierce battle for the lead so far.
Remains down low, but Solis is using the high side train to just push off Hall any chance that that 5 truck has at getting to the race leader. I think that's sort of the mindset here if you're Solis. Run the middle or the top, get the run off the corner, and stall as much as possible. But as long as Solis does that, it only will add another Nexus Esports truck into the mix, and Connor Euroshack, so it probably won't be the best spell for Solis if he wants to hold on to the top spot. But this time around, stops the bleeding. Hall gets into dirty air. Caution is out for the first time tonight. Trucks getting around, and we're going to see exactly who it might have been in all of this. And it appears to be Ryan Andrews slow back in 33rd. He's the first truck a lap down.
Ryan Andrews with a caution. We have to see a replay here, but how about the... We got our first caution of the night, Ken. Let's see what happened
here. This is Wesley Parker and Dalton Malam. These are the older tire trucks in the middle of 3 and 4 wide action. And all of a sudden, Parker goes for the spin. We'll take another look at it this time. Parker slaps the outside wall. James Wenzel and Tommy Gossett on the inside. Look at this heap of trucks. 3 wide around 2 rows deep. Kyle Dragon barely getting into Parker. Malam getting the outside wall. Parker doing a great job of hopping onto the brakes. Everyone gets around cleanly. And while there isn't a lot of damage, Wesley Parker certainly isn't happy about that. First caution of the night. 72 laps into the books. And it should send the rest of the field to pit road for the second time tonight.
Time for some 4 tires and fuel here for all these trucks. As you see Jose, he's going to hang on to the lead here. That was a great pit cycle and a great caution, well-timed caution. He's going to come in. 4 tires of fuel for everyone. We'll see how this cycles when they come off pit road here.
So Solis had the lead by a margin of 0.2 of a second back to John Hall, and it wasn't that much of a long shot either when you consider Connor Euroshack was in the mix. Solis is going to overshoot his pit box, so that's going to lose him a plethora of time. Everyone else coming in this time through, of course, the 4 fresh tire call. Fuel going to be considerable as well. We should expect at least 1 more stop to make it to the end of this race. Run off of pit road. Hall and Euroshack going 1-2. Solis falls back to 4th after overshooting the box. That's how much damage that small mistake can do. And John Hall moves to the race lead off pit road.
Great pit stop there by John Hall. Not sure what happened there to the Jose Solis machine, but nonetheless, John Hall, Kevin King, first two off pit road, they're going to control this restart when we go back green.
And John Hall, for the first time tonight, is going to get lap lead number 1 with Kevin King right behind. Give credit to King for moving up to second on that stretch of pit stops, barely getting by Connor Euroshak at the pit road exit line. So he will be able to split the Nexus Esports trucks, although he should have the outside lane on row 1 when we get the restart. So Euroshak still does have the chance to work with his teammate, count each other down as they go to the green flag as we cross the line with about 87 laps to go from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Just a quick reminder that if you want to keep up with all of the updates and news from the world of eNASCAR, scan that QR code on the bottom left of your screen and sign up for the newsletter today. Get the news from the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series, the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series, and even the current eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season. You can find out all of that and more. Scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen to join the world of eNASCAR.
If these guys don't know, I guess we've already got the 1 to go signal. No, never mind. Pace car lights are on. We're still 2 to green as John Hall, Kevin King going to be controlling the field here. Connor Euroshak, he's going to be restarting the third spot. Jose Solis had a bad pit stop there, excuse me. He's going to restart in the 4th spot, but no need to worry about them. He's been fast the entire night. He's going to be back up fighting for the lead, no problem. But it's going to be interesting to see how the strategy is going to change. Maybe a shorter stint here, maybe split up into 40, 45 laps. It's going to be interesting to see as we see these final laps tick down as we enter the second half of the race.
Well, you know what, Daniel? If you hear the inside of a ton of these trucks, you're going to hear nothing. There's going to be a lot of clutching and coasting for these drivers at the front, middle, and rear of the field. They all want to make it on at least one stop, and they want to minimize the loss of time that'll happen on that final pit stop. So you've got one caution now. When running the race up until this point all the way green, what do you think on that final pit stop? Are you hoping for more yellows to give yourself a shot and using more tire sets and getting a couple more splashes of fuel, or are you praying for another green flag run just to get that final money stop in and get yourself on your way to the checkered flag?
Well, Kenneth, let me say this. You know the term cautions breed cautions, right? And we have seen plenty of those in the second round, or excuse me, in the second split of round 1 of the Road to Pro season. And I wouldn't be surprised that the more that we have restarts, the more aggressive these drivers are going to get, because it's go time, and it's the last chance for these guys to really make something happen to get the points they need. And a lot of guys that are having a good run right now, they want to keep it that way and just try to get the best finish they can to get the points they need. So desperation is gonna rise a little bit, and desperate times call for desperate measures.
And the desperation kicks in when you consider that this is the final mile and a half that we will have in round 1. We've had 3 so far this season. It'll come a little more at a premium when you enter round 2. You only have Chicagoland. The opening race of the second round is a mile and a half. And then you end the round 2 campaign at Homestead Miami Speedway. But other than that, you are not visiting a mile and a half track, at least a typical one in that aspect. You're going to go to Pocono, Lucas Oil, Watkins Glen, the Milwaukee Mile, and Rockingham, right in the middle of those 2 mile and a halves that I just mentioned. So if you're one of those drivers who can be quote-unquote a merchant at these types of speedways, use your skills now. Use all that you can in this very moment, especially if you're right on the cusp of that cut line and you desperately need a solid run. John Hall will have control of the field entering this green flag restart with 85 laps remaining. Kevin King on the outside, Connor Euroshak and Jose Solis Jr. occupying both lanes in row 2. Green flag in the air from Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Kevin King with an abysmal restart drops back to 3rd, potentially 4th, entering turn 1.
Looked like a Wyatt Tinsley moment, missing a shift on the restart right there, as Kevin King is going to fall back to the 3rd spot right there. But he's going to keep it going. Doesn't appear to be any sort of damage. He's going to keep it rolling. And John Hall, Connor Euroshak, 1-2 connected.
He minimizes the negative outcome, and he remains in 3rd. Problem is, he is not the middle of the Nexus Esports sandwich any longer. Battle for 4th on tap. Jose Solis looking to fend off Tommy Gossett on the high side. The best place that we've seen Gossett in all night long after starting back in 21st. What a move up through the field it's been for this red, white, and blue patriotic Ranko car. and there's even more right behind him. Caden Rush, James Wenzel, Santiago Tires, as Kevin King dives underneath Eurocheck. He goes deep sea diving in turns 3 and 4, looking for P2.
Yeah, bad restart there for Kevin King. Doesn't seem to be a problem. He's already going to go right back to that second spot, right behind Charlotte Eurocheck. And he's going to bring Jose Solis with him for that third spot. Battle for third between Jose Solis, Charlotte Eurocheck. Eurocheck going to rip that middle right on that seam. And here comes, there's another fellow next to his truck looking to join the fray.
Truck brushes the outside wall, and there's Caden Rush, another big mover through the field. He gets under his teammate in Eurocheck, who's sort of on the fallback here. We know that on fresh tires, you want to bring that truck all the way to the bottom line at the inside of the corners. Eurocheck has no choice. He can't move to the inside if there's a truck down low. This time it's Tommy Gossett, King, and Solis Jr. Gonna go to side-by-side action, entering 1 and 2. Solis looking for second place, and John Hall watches in the rear-view mirror. We'll catch 81 laps to go, and Jose Solis gets the top side for second, gets the outside for the lead on John Hall.
John Hall kind of just pulled to the bottom there to give Jose that outside lane. Not sure what he was doing there, but nonetheless, Jose Solis leading at the caution flag. He's going to take the lead right back. He's got that short run speed as long as that mid to long run speed as well. So Jose Solis looking like the truck to beat so far, as we are just hit halfway, or we're about to hit halfway next time by.
Beautiful move by Solis, and I believe John Hall was sort of anticipating that outside charge. You know by this point in the race that Solis is the Highline Pied Piper. He's willing to run up top if it's going to give him a good run, and so Hall basically opened that door for him and said, you have it. I'm really not going to fight you right now. I'll get you later in the run. And that also opened the door for Caden Rush, the fellow next to his truck, to sort of play decoy in all of this. Rush, a race high second with 80 to go, charging on Solis. They're pulling away from third on back.
First time we've seen Caden Rush up in the mix all night long. He wants to put his name out there trying to go for the race lead. He's going to follow the tire track with Jose Solis. He's going to try to rip the middle lane, try to see if there's extra grip up there in the tire. He's going to try to get a good run off turn 4, but Jose going to pull a little gap, wrapping the bottom right there. The bottom still seems to be the optimal line right now.
And Caden Rush goes into this race 8th in Road to Pro standings. So one of those guys who spent a majority of his Road to Pro campaign basically at the top. He's got 2 wins, 4 top 5s, and 5 top 10s. One of the more successful drivers in this 2024 campaign. So not sure if there's any real concern if you're Rush, but based on iRating, he is 31st in truck number in this race with a 6.1K iRating. So it doesn't really show you the full story. You can see his iRating and say, hey, maybe he should not be a top 70 driver, but it's skill alone that's getting Caden Rush to these top 3. And right now they have checked out completely on John Hall and everyone else. Look at a driver who's also making a move up to the front, Dylan Pettis, who was all the way back in 18th when we dropped the green flag in this race, up to top 5 territory for the first time tonight.
Dylan Pettis is going to need a lot of points and a lot of help to make it to that next round of Road to Pro. And as he's looking to add his name to the mix here, as he's going to go battle with James Wetzel, that's going to be for the 5th position to crack the top 5. And James Wetzel, he's putting up a heck of a fight on the outside lane. Side over number 2. Wetzel, he's going to get the run. Pettis going to fall back to P6, and we go back to single bottom.
Wetzel, one of those drivers who picked up a win midway through the season on the Atlanta Superspeedway configuration. It was not here in split 2 with our coverage on FTN, but nonetheless, Wetzel was able to get the top step of the podium. Regardless, the rest of the season has not panned out the way he wanted it to, and at the moment, Wenzel is pretty far down in the running order. 81st in point standings, a total of 46 points out from that 70th spot, that coveted spot entering round 2. So Wenzel has been strong all night long, but he might need something a little more if he wants to push himself over the threshold and get himself onwards into his chase for eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series eligibility. And it's sort of interesting to see the difference in team driver numbers, Daniel, as each season progresses. We know that Motorsports and Durcat, they've had a lot of drivers move up for the eNASCAR race. Parker White and a bunch of other drivers included. And you've also got Nexus Esports. They've grown considerably. We've seen so many of their trucks here on our second split coverage, but you turn back the clock, you get a couple of seasons back, you'll have Altus Engineering dominating the field in team truck numbers. It sort of decreased as the years have progressed, and as guys like Tucker Minter and Jordy Lopez have made the Coke Series over the last several years. But you still have some strong drivers in Danson and Wenzel. We'll keep an eye on Altus Engineering as they push forward as Caden Rush takes over the race lead, powers on the outside on Jose Solis.
New leader, Caden Rush, put him to the front of the field here at Charlotte, showing that Nexus Esports power, adding another Nexus Esports truck to the front of the field. Nexus, as you've been saying, they've been showing their strength, even with a couple wins in the top split, thanks to Jake Madison as well. They've been very strong over this entire road pro season. It looks like they're going to be very strong going into round 2 as well.
Especially when they announced their partnership with Fireball Motorsports, it certainly amplified things a bit. And they're definitely very happy to have a real-life NASCAR team in FRM support their endeavors on the eNASCAR side of things. And speak of Nexus trucks, we've got a couple of them here in this battle of machines off of turn 4. It starts with Justin Levine in the 6th truck, then Kyle Dragon, David Brown. You look at Trevor Huff back in 15th place. This is all in the mid-pack. These guys settling their positions out. It's going to get even tougher as the run progresses.
It's only going to get even tougher. Ooh, we got a couple of guys in the wall right there. They keep it straight. As we look at Kyle Dragon, another one of the Nexus trucks following his teammate Logan Helton, trying to rip the middle, trying to go somewhere. They're having a little difficulty getting through the field. They're kind of buried in traffic back here. But right now, everyone's doing a single file through out the top 10. We got a little side-by-side action. It looks to be right around the 11th, 12th spot. These guys there, David Brown, that's another one of the Nexus Esports truck carrying the FRM numbers. There is John Hall. He's going to complete a pass on Jose Solis. Kevin King, he's going to try to follow suit.
Keeping track of Nexus, they're like a zombie raid. They're all over the place, all moving up to 2nd place. Solis may drop to 4th here in this move. Kevin King is going to slide his way through. Solis not going to fight Kevin King back at the exit of turn 4. So making the 4-truck breakaway, now occupied by Hall and King in 2nd and 3rd place. They may even bring in James Wenzel and Santiago Tires, who sort of pulled away in a tandem of their own from Tommy Gossett in 7th place. Obviously, the mid-pack battles that we've been touching on for the last several seconds. We'll keep an eye on those guys as they move through. But so far, strong runs specifically out of King and Tires. But out of nowhere has Caden Rush emerged into the foreground. He'll cross the line with 69 laps to go, 19 laps into the stint. Boy, has Rush had a turnaround in this race, Daniel.
He's looking strong right now. He's starting to pull a little bit of a gap on the field ahead of his teammate John Hall, Kevin King, and others. And like you said, he's out there trying to see if he can go out and maybe battle for this win. But of course, we still got a long way to go. 69 to go, coming to 68 to go. Let's see Caden Rush continue to rip the middle, continue to rip the top side. It's been pretty good to him so far. Got him the lead. He's going to continue to make it work.
And across all splits, Caden Rush is looking tonight to become the only driver to win more than 2 races in the Road to Pro campaign, at least as we see it in second split coverage on FTN. Most of the other drivers that have picked up wins this season usually at 1, a lot of them at 2, including Rush. Nobody in 3 or more territory. So Caden Rush could have a chance to make a little history of his own, at least this season as far as it's concerned. He's getting tracked down though by John Hall and Kevin King. They're starting to log down faster laps, and Rush is starting to look a little nervous. There goes Hall, right on the back bumper of this 31 truck. To the outside Hall goes, to the bottom goes King. Different lines by both of them, and King's gonna look on forward to 2nd place in this Chevrolet.
Just very awesome to see at this part of the race. The track's taking a lot of rubber and just so many, great to see so many different lines. You can really make any single line work here at John Hall. He's going to go to the bottom, and he's going to try to clear Caden Rush from the race lead. Not quite. They're going to remain side by side. John Hall's going to lead that lap. Kevin King, he's going to choose to push John Hall. He's going to try to push him out to the race lead.
Has a decision to make there, but he's between 2 Nexus trucks. Doesn't really know what to do. But King goes down low, prefers the run on the bottom side of the racetrack. Touch of the outside wall by Rush, but King is going to stay loyal to push that neon yellow Nexus truck on the outside and at least keep the teammates door to door. Could that be just a potential ploy by King to make them work a little harder going door to door and give King a little bit better of a run? Peaks down low, but he's going to touch the back bumper of Hall, who catches the grass there with the left side tires entering turn 1. This time they may be able to clear Rush this time through, at least not for the moment. King going to stay down down low. He's going to make the move happen, at least potentially. Still not being able to clear yet.
And John Hall, he is going to get cleared. Now Kevin King's going to try to follow suit underneath Caden Rush. John Hall is looking to now try to take control of this race like he did on that initial restart. And right now, he fell back a little bit, but that speed's starting to come back to him, and he's going to retake the race lead. And Kevin King, he's going for second place, guys.
Kevin King on the move with this The Team Chevrolet. Keep in mind, those back there, fourth on back, they are also starting to jump the gun. Jose Solis Jr., who has taken himself back to the boards at Charlotte, is creeping up on these guys like that song with 21 Savage and The Weeknd. He's pulling up on these guys and trying to make a move. King remains down low, but he cannot break free of the Nexus Esports shackles that are wrapped around his arms. 62 to go this time by. Hall up top, King down low for the race lead.
Well, just great racing here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway as Kevin King, he's looking to go for the race lead, but he's got to fight those two Nexus trucks. John Hall, Caden Rush ripping the outside lane. Jose Solis, he fell back a little bit. Now he's coming back into this race lead, looking to try to be 3 wide, running the top, running the bottom, all 3 lanes being very usable here.
So aggressive is John Hall, but it's almost out of necessity. He comes into this race 86 in point standings, 57 points out of the cut line. He needs a win, at least to give him some hope that he can make round 2 in a month's time. Kevin King down low, wanting to stop all of this nonsense from Nexus Esports and wants to take the lead of his own. Jose Solis has a decision to make. So does Santiago Tires. King in the middle, looks underneath on Hall, who's going to stay up front. This time 61 to go, and it is a 5-truck grouping back to turn 1.
Where does Santiago Tires come from? He is now trying to challenge for the race lead. As Kevin King, he's going to throw it back to the inside. Caden Rush, we're going to be about 3 wide. Kevin King, he's trying to clear to the bottom. John Hall trying to continue to rip the outside. John Hall's still going to be there. Kevin King's going to clear.
King barely shut the door on Hall there exiting turn 2, but Hall just gave him the benefit of the doubt. Looks for the crossover. Here in 3 and 4, almost sent it in and gave him the bumper. Solis up high. He'll make the move on Rush. This time for third. He'll swerve up high. This time on Hall for second place, and Tires moves up top as well.
John Hall, he's going to chop off Jose going into turn number 1 there, and that's going to allow Caden Rush. He's going to try to make a move on the bottom. Here comes Santiago Tires around the outside, and it looks like that outside is going to prevail as Caden Rush had the race lead. He's starting to drift back just a little bit, being stuck in that inside lane as we're on board with Tommy Gossett. Where has he come from? He's coming into the top 5. He's looking to make his name in the presence here.
You know how it was only 3 trucks, Daniel? Maybe 5 to 10 laps ago, it is ballooned to about 10 and more. It is starting to grow considerably. So all of a sudden, you get 2 of the leaders going side by side in Rush and Hall. You add Kevin King to the mix, and all of a sudden, you've got a snowball that's just ready to avalanche on the landscape of Charlotte Motor Speedway. It is becoming a lot of fun to watch. John Hall relinquishes second place. Solis wants the lead. He'll charge up high. Hall is going to give him a fight for it in 3 and 4 with 58 to go. Wonderful racing from Charlotte.
And here comes Jose Solis. He's got a big run down the front straightaway, ripped the wall very well in turns 3 and 4. Now he's going to go back to the fence in turns 1 and 2. Kevin King going to try to move up, try to take his line away, take his air away. But Jose Solis going to run a little bit higher, get a little bit more of that clean air. Going to have a big run down the back straightaway. Let's see what he does in turn 3. He's going to try and run high again. Kevin King, he's going to run high as well, take his air away. And Kevin King, he's kind of playing defense here, doing a little bit of mirror blocking. And he's going to try to hold on to this lead.
Sort of what you have to do, especially when Solis, a driver that he is, willing to run the boards here at Charlotte. Got to be very careful about where you place your truck in order to give him a bit of the dirty air. But nonetheless, King in the race lead. These drivers have reached 30 laps on their stint of tires, so we know that in about 10 to 15 laps time, Daniel, we should expect these guys to come in. And one thing about Jose Solis Jr. was that he was the first to come down from the top 5 in our first round of green flag stops. Should we expect the same out of the 9 truck this time if it stays green?
And here goes the race lead, Jose Solis. He's going to look to the outside of Kevin King. Kevin King going to give him the outside lane here. Jose Solis going to run a little shallow, run the middle, trying to get to his right rear. He's going to try to pull him down this back straightaway here. King, he's going to get back clear. Solis going to get a run down the back straightaway. Yes. And he's going to look down to the inside here into turn number 3. Nope, he's going to go back to the fence. King going to go back to the fence as well. Everyone's on the fence, and Santiago, the only one on the bottom. He's going to make it 3 wide.
It almost looked 3 wide there, entering 3 and 4. Solis is doing as much as he can to get the top side working. He uses the crossover, trying to poke his nose down there under. King cannot convert. Hall and Tires down low. We are 3 wide for second place, at least momentarily. Solis will clear at the exit.
Going to clear at the exit of turn 2. Santiago, he's coming strong at the end of this race. He's going to look down at the bottom as John Hall's going to run the middle, maybe look 3 wide once more. Santiago Gutierrez is going to look down on the inside, try to wrap that one line. And he's looking really good. One of the few trucks that's going to make that bottom work, as he's going to go side by side with John Hall for the 3rd spot. Trying to get that last spot. As Solis, he's still trying to go after Kevin King for the lead.
And Tires is one of those few trucks that is in possibility to lock himself into the 2nd round by virtue of just running tonight's race. Crossover by Hall on the inside, and this battle continues for 3rd place, entering 53 to go, just over 50 remaining here from Concord, North Carolina. But Tires is in a more comfortable spot, and that gives you this situation to where, Daniel, it makes things even more stressful for a guy like John Hall, who is outside of the top 70. He is seeing this competition swerve by him, make these moves, 2, almost 3 wide, heavily contentious racing. You have to be a little nervous if you're the driver of this 03 Ford F-150, because you do not want to get wiped out by a small mistake and eliminate any sort of hope to make round 2 in June.
Yeah, all to make round 2 is what these guys are looking for. As we're riding on board, John Hall trying to wrap that inside lane. Can't seem to do anything right there. As Santiago Gutierrez, he's going to take that 3rd spot for good. Now he's going to make the out. The laps winding down. They're closing in on their final pit stops of the night.
This will be the money stop, no doubt about it, as long as we stay green. Battle for position inside the top 10. Here's Daniel Nanny in the 7th spot. Logan Helton right behind him in the number 63. We mentioned that Nanny has struggled to make the top 20 by the checkered flag of the last 3 races here in North 2nd split, trying to turn things around this time, and he's going to top 10 the Daytona winner on our coverage of TN is enough in points to make it into round 2. The Ryko Ford F-150 still doing his best. Dylan Pettis right. Still a lot of trucks left to knock down before he can catch up to inevitably the race leaders that have been going toe-to-toe for the last maybe 15 or so laps. We do understand that Jose Solis Jr. was one of the first trucks to enter pit road on our last green flag cycle of stops, so you could use that expectation that Solis will be one of the first to enter pit road again. Did he get the benefit of grabbing the net race lead after it was all said and done? But you never know what happens this time around, specifically when guys like Kevin King and Santiago Gutierrez have put such a nail in this fight. As there goes Gutierrez down low. His Toyota Tundra finds his way underneath at the bottom of 3 and 4. Should beat Solis at the exit of 4. He'd be able to, at least for the moment. But Gutierrez still contending for 2nd spot as we reach 50 laps to go from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Speaking of Connor Euroshak, a driver who was leading this race early, he settled into 14th place. We haven't heard much of Euroshak. Only a small echo out of that 13 truck since we saw him running for top 5 position on the racetrack. He fell as back as 30th on the run, but has been able to settle nicely. We know that Euroshak is going to be locked into round 2 no matter what, but see this turnaround, specifically as the race has progressed. Sort of interesting how Euroshak has fallen from the race. And he does have a bit of right rear damage. Could potentially attribute that to the restart where we had the outside line completely check up. Even though Euroshak was down low, he did get some taps here and there. And when you run in the mid-pack, at some point you could get a hit or 2 based on the amount of trucks that we've seen run side by side and somewhat 3 wide through most of the race. But at the moment, Kevin King still the controller of the race, with Santiago Gutierrez pioneering his Toyota to 2nd. Jose Solis back to 3rd. John Hall looking for 3rd from 4th place. And Tommy Gossett, who has seemingly moved up through the field every chance that he's gotten, has been able to be beneficial off of every single move. He's moved up into top 5 position. Just a quick reminder once again, that if you want to get into touch with all of the latest updates and news from the world of eNASCAR. You can scan the QR code at the bottom left of your screen. Get up to date with the newsletter based around the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, the Contender iRacing series set to get the green flag this fall, and the current eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series season. You can also find out how to become an eNASCAR driver yourself by scanning that QR code at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and get up to date with eNASCAR and iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. Santiago Tires tried to get underneath Kevin King in the last 2 or so laps. He's been one of those faithful to the very bottom. Was not fruitful in his endeavor that time. On board with the Tires machine as he runs in second. You look at the shade covering the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's a pretty overcasty and cloudy day in virtual Concord, North Carolina. We're hoping for some clear weather. But when we get down to this weekend, we know that some storms are set to hit Indianapolis and Speedway, where the Indy 500 is set to take place. Coca-Cola 600 might also be under threat of some weather. We hope that the sunshine breaks through the clouds and we can get some great racing on Sunday with the best spectacle in all of motorsports in one single day. With the Monaco Grand Prix. Then you've got Indianapolis 500 racing through the afternoon. And then as the sun comes down to the horizon, as it sets, you're looking at the Coke 600 going into the nightfall. We've had so much fun with those weekends, whether it be in real life and in sim. And we know that Daniel Falkingham, who's in the booth with us tonight, is calling this race via phone. That's how he's doing it, looking at the feed through his Discord app on his iPhone and just trying to get all the latest updates and calling the race with us. We certainly appreciate Daniel taking his time to call the race with us this evening on FTN. He's been camping along with the North Force Racing teammates. Parker White, one of them. Graham Poling, another. All those eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series drivers will be in Charlotte this weekend, so we hope for a lot of fun for those guys as they watch the Cup Series. And Xfinity trucks also go at it. Santiago Tires, another bid for the race lead, squandered out of turn 4, and in the running, he's been able to pick up John Hall and Tommy Gossett on his rear bumper. Top 4 have pulled away. They're about 42 laps to go from Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're going to keep an eye on those who turn to pit road. We know that Salas again was the first. He remains up top, doesn't want to come in 46 laps in the books. However, he seems to be falling back, so it might just be the calling card as Daniel Nanny, James Wenzel, Logan Helton, and a bunch of other trucks are preying on this number 9 at the moment. There's a lot more separation through the mid-pack. It really isn't all too contentious. Around here, look at Ryan Andrew back at 18. Slight side-by-side battle between Anthony Permoda and Garrison Hogan. You've got Dalton Malone, who pushed his way through on fresh tires earlier in this race, but since has not been able to recover. These guys all settling where they at in the mid-pack at the moment. And coming to 40 laps to go, they could have a decent chance at least turning their race around, but it really isn't the call for them to do anything crazy at the moment. Cars down pit road. Tommy Gossett the first. The Ryko F-150 comes in. Trevor Huff, who enters this race as the last driver in the top 70, enters pit road. So as these guys come in, we know that the communications are heavy between all of the teams in their respective Discord channels or TeamSpeak channels, and they're going to start to make their calls down pit road. Look at Jose Salas locking up the tires, gets in right in front of Daniel Nanny. And there he is, 48 laps into his run. Calls for pit road with 39 to go. We'll look at Kevin King and the rest of the field and how they deal with this situation as Santiago Tires tries again for the race lead. On board with Tires, King down low on the brakes and on to pit road. Your race leader in this time, lap 122, handing over the lead to John Hall. Top 2 away by at least 1.5 seconds back to third place, Caden Rush. We've got more drivers in as well. Dylan Pettis, James Wenzel, Matt Danson, all of them have taken their trips down pit road. There's a look on board with Wenzel in his number 17 machine as he brings his Chevrolet on pit road to the first pit box after grabbing pole and qualifying tonight. And of course, 4 fresh tires and fuel. This should give these drivers enough grip in their tires and enough fuel to make it to the checkered flag. Here comes John Hall, Logan Helton to follow, Santiago Tires, the new race leader. Tires up by 1.5 seconds. Dickens back to third. Permoda and Sean Anderson have found their way into the top 5. We should expect a trickle-down effect to get into these drivers too. Tires hops on the brakes. He's in without a problem. Locks up the brakes so a little bit. Should be okay. Permoda and Dickens settling it between themselves. They've got 5 trucks right behind him. Jose Solis saw Wesley Parker in the big Solis hip checks into Justin Levine, who goes sideways. He saves it in 1 and 2. An unbelievable save, and it drops Jose Solis Jr. a ton. We are 4 wide entering turn 3. And this is the danger zone. If you're on fresh tires, it becomes so hard to pick your way through the field when you've got all these slower trucks around you. Caution flag is out. River Hayes on pit road. Santiago Tires in as well. He may be put a lap down as Justin Levine is slow on the front straightaway. And this caution could change everything. And it was Justin Levine in the 1 truck. This is him coming out of pit road. It does not get easy when you're on fresh tires and you have to weave your way through a ton of traffic. Look at this gaggle of trucks that catch up right to Levine as he merges on the back straightaway. It starts with the 2 truck, then the 00 of Will Cooley. Jose Solis Jr. is going to emerge in the foreground as well. Robert Vabro Jr. You've got Trevor Huff in the 65. It just becomes so dangerous in this territory. So Levine is looking to survive, and then all of a sudden, everyone else, when they emerge onto the racetrack, it creates absolute havoc. They were 4 wide at one point, and it just created a ton of issues. We'll see if we can get the full official replay from Levine as he went for the spin on the front straightaway. Several other trucks involved. It looks to be Will Cooley and Joshua Dickens that kicked this one off. Permoda enters pit road right in front of Levine and catches other trucks. Logan Helton, Matt Danson involved. That's a big one out of turn 4. And an awful situation for Danson. Catches him at the most inopportune time on board with the 30. There is nowhere he could go as Levine comes right up the racetrack. And it starts with Permoda as he entered pit road that time by. So as a result, Kevin King, the race leader, Trevor Huff, Zeke Willis, John Hall, and Dylan Pettis inside your top 5. And Santiago Tires, who tried desperately to get to the race lead, is going to be at the end of the longest line after having the caution come out while on pit road. So a pretty sizable shunt to Tires' chances at winning tonight from Charlotte. Good news for him on the point standing side of things. He is okay and will be able to advance to round 2. And we'll be there at Chicagoland Speedway when we kick off the 2nd round of Road to Pro coverage here on FTN. So we mentioned Darlington, how much that really changed everything in its own way. It brought some drivers into the foreground and gave them a shot at winning. Well, now it's happened all over again here in Concord, North Carolina. Kevin King, although he's been strong all race, will have to hold off Trevor Huff, who hasn't been in the race lead basically all night long. Zeke Willis, Dylan Pettis, James Wenzel, Sean Anderson, Cody Johnson, Joshua Dickens, those guys at the back end of the top 10. They have not seen the light of day as much as some of the guys we've mentioned all night long have. So this is their shot to gain viable points, and this is possibly the chance for Trevor Huff to create a seal at his top 70 spot or gain some spots before this race is over. Trevor Huff, he comes into tonight starting every single one of the 7 races in the first round of Road to Pro action this season. It has not really been the standout season at all, but it is good enough to get him into top 70. He had 1 top 5, 3 top 10s throughout the season. Back at Darlington, he finished 19th, but before that had a streak of top 10s that started at Texas Motor Speedway and moved on to Dover. So consistency has mattered for Trevor Huff. It might matter a little bit more here in the final, give or take 30 laps to go. So we will get the green flag with 31 remaining from Charlotte. Kevin King, the race leader. Trevor Huff on his outside in row 1. Zeke Willis and John Hall going to be 3rd and 4th. Dylan Pettis, the first truck inside the top 5, and first Chevrolet in the row with James Wenzel on his outside. Caden Rush into 7th. Sean Anderson 8th. Cody Johnson and Joshua Dickens round out the top 10. Well, I don't know how this one will go, but we know that when drivers are on fresh tires, they go down low, and some try to take the risk to go up high, and it usually doesn't work. Will that happen again? We know that these guys, most of them have come down pit road within the last 10 or so laps. This is a great opportunity for guys like Zeke Willis, who pitted 10 laps ago. If we stayed green, Willis would have fallen through the cracks, potentially gone to mid-pack contention by the end of this deal. He now has an opportunity to use the heat cycles to his advantage and equalize all of these other trucks. And this is a sizable stint to waste tire life. Will it matter? Here at Charlotte, 31 to go. Pace car moves to the inside and to the entry of pit road. Kevin King and Trevor Huff to the restart zone. We are back racing from Charlotte. And King out to a solid getaway. Huff having a fight with Willis, toe-to-toe in turns 1 and 2. John Hall working with his Nexus teammate down low. He'll push forward to get to 3rd, possibly 2nd if he can make a move down low. King, the race leader, feel this clean on the back straightaway. And that's where the teammates matter in these scenarios. John Hall could have chosen anyone else to work with, but instead gets right behind Zeke Willis and gets him to 2nd. As everyone chases towards the blue and white line at the bottom of the racetrack. Right about to impact some, nearly brushing the outside wall. Watch this, 3 and 4 wide. Tommy Gus in the middle. And he's going to hang course with Nate Stewart. They may be 4 wide. Jose Salas Jr., Connor Euroshak among those great trucks that were stuck back here and have nowhere to go. We are still 3 wide. Will Cooley on the very bottom. Euroshak pushing through the middle and Stewart up high. The mid-pack contentious as John Hall fights to 2nd place. Looking to get around Kevin King, and Dylan Pettis moves up to 3rd place. What a race it has been for Dylan Pettis. All over the place throughout this event, and now pokes his nose underneath John Hall. Hall is going to give him the space. They're 3 wide. Back in the mid-pack as Trevor Huff finds his way through the middle. Dylan Pettis to 2nd place. And 3 wide still, Wesley Parker right in the middle of that. Zeke Willis on the older tires is falling once more as Joshua Dickens finds his way under. Cody Johnson down low. Chevrolet 1 forward, 3 wide, back to the stripe. And how many great battles have we seen tonight in this race? It has been so much fun, and it's usually the same cast, same characters in this race. 26 to go. And you have to understand, this is still a semi-long run. If we do not get a caution, it will come down to the long run setup and how much tire life you have. We know that there's a discrepancy between some compared to others just because of the green flag cycle we had just before that yellow came out with Justin Levine, the heart of the impact. But you still have to keep in mind that this is a long run. You cannot treat it like it will be here and now. Track position will matter, but as we've seen throughout this race, it is not impossible to weave your way through the field and make up a ton of positions late in the going. Caution flag out once again. David O. Brown with a bit of damage. Daniel Nenny has also fallen back and is slow on the racetrack. And hefty damage to Nanny's front end. Looking to break down a streak where he has finished below the top 20 over the last 3 races in second split. On the back straightaway, it starts in the middle with Gossett, then with Zeke Willis, then with Robbie Vrabel Jr., Tommy Gossett, and then David O. Brown, Connor Euroshak, almost getting a piece of that as well, has to slide through the grass in order to get through all of that. Remember, we were talking about all of this action in the mid-pack. You get 3 and 4 wide action brewing, and all of a sudden, you get limited space, you get a bit of contact, and you get a caution. There's Daniel Nenny going hard into the inside wall, and Brown giving him the deliverable tap. Taking a look on board with Robbie Vrabel Jr. on board with the 23 truck. Nowhere he could go either. Luckily, he avoids the chaos of the inside wall. A ton of Nexus trucks got in that mix, including Euroshak. We'll see if we get a look from Euroshak's machine and get a look at how he sort of got through all the mess. He's without any damage. Listen in with the 2-time winner in second split. It's not fun to see your teammates get involved in a crash like that, but it is fun to get off of it and get away clean, as Euroshak does. A bunch of drivers down pit road. Sean Anderson and Cody Johnson will stay out, but Dylan Pettis is going to win the race off pit road. What a stop at 9.5 seconds. 2-tire call for not only himself, but for Wesley Parker and Joshua Dickens. And at this juncture of the race, this could be a call to get you to the race win or get you within good track position. And for Dylan Pettis, a win would be a huge blessing for his Road to Pro career and could give him some extra life. Remember, as we were talking about at the top of the show, Pettis is one of those beneath the cut line. He is 78th in standings, 38 points back of Trevor Huff, who holds that final spot before we drop the green flag. So for guys like Pettis, this could be an absolutely monumental rebound. And for the Team Conti machine has a viable chance. Kevin King will be the first truck on 4 tires. He's back in P6. John Hall, James Wenzel, Caden Rush, among all those other guys mostly, to come in for 4 tires. And now you ask the question, is 2 tires good enough? We've seen it on display, whether it be on Tuesday nights in the eNASCAR or Coca-Cola iRacing Series, or even here in Road to Pro. Split 1, 2, 3, you name it, all the way down the order. There will always be some sort of different pit road call to get you track position. We've seen 2 tires work specifically at these tracks, and with a run that is at least within 25 laps to go. We are just under that marker. Now we'll cross the line for 22 remaining here in Virtual Concord. So a 2-tire stop might just be the money idea. However, there are those 2 trucks who did stay out on older tires. Not by much, it's only 11, and they've been out on the racetrack. Sean Anderson and Cody Johnson. And they've been in no man's land mostly in this race. Anderson only leading his 2nd lap of the night after starting in 32nd place. Cody Johnson, we saw him in our highlight video earlier on in our coverage on FTN as he spun out at the exit of turn 4 and created the caution in the middle of green flag stops that basically changed everything and helped get Joe Armstrong his 2nd win of his Road to Pro campaign in 2024. So these guys on 10-lap older tires compared to everyone 3rd on back. And we'll run it back for you in this case. Anderson and Johnson on old tires. Dylan Pettis, Wesley Parker, Joshua Dickens, they're on 2. They just came down for 9 to 10 second pit stops. Kevin King and mostly everyone else behind him, they are on 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, so you have at least 3 different types of calls on display for the final stint of this race. We know that any caution could potentially change up the strategy further and might just be a good call for Anderson and Johnson if everyone else comes in right behind him, just because they possibly could get fresher tires than everyone else. However, they will have to stall as much as possible. And what's even worse is that we might be 3 wide at the exit of turns 1 and 2, just based on how strong fresh tire trucks have been. You've seen it all night long with guys like Jose Solis Jr., Dalton Millam. They can push their way through the middle in 3 wide situations and get away in about a half a second. It is that fast and that much of a difference here at Charlotte. Could we see it play a role into the role of winning this race? Sean Anderson and Cody Johnson, your leaders out of turn 4. Pace car enters pit road. Our green flag restart with 21 to go. Anderson and Johnson next up to the restart zone on discretion and back to the green flag. And that is a sluggish start by the outside. Pettis gets one before we get to the first corner. There goes Parker down low. Dickens wanting to follow, and so is Kevin King. All of the fresh tire trucks now pushing the envelope early on. Pettis with a run out of turn 2. Now we're 3 wide. Back within the top 6. King down low as Pettis searches for the race lead. Pettis is loose. Mid-corner. Here comes Parker. 3 wide for the lead on the front straightaway. And a huge crash right behind. Cody Johnson in the heart of it all. Tommy Gossett, Connor Euroshak, Ashton Crowder, and many others involved. John Holland in 2. Our biggest caution with just 20 laps to go from Charlotte. And look at all those involved. It is a junkyard at the Quad Oval. A huge accident into 3 and 4, and here's how it all started. Joshua Dickens there in the middle, 3 wide. There's Wesley Parker looking for 3 wide, 2. Cody Johnson catches John Hall, then gets Dickens back into Hall, and it just gets everyone involved. Look at all those hard hitters that are involved in this one. Jose Solis Jr., Connor Euroshak, James Wenzel involved in this as well. Just fighting for the real estate. It all runs out at the Quad Oval and just creates absolute mayhem. Wenzel gets sent down the racetrack. Gossett goes up hard into the wall. Anthony Permoda right in the middle of that. And it is a mess on the front straightaway. The onboard look from Permoda. Gets into Kyle Dragon and also gets into another truck on the way there. Joshua Dickens sliding through, but apart from that, Permoda able to get by without a scratch on his Chevrolet Silverado, rather, I should say. Everyone else right in front. Getting the heart of the impact. Jose Solis Jr. strong all race long with potential suspension damage. And look at the army on pit road as a result. So this caution takes out a ton of competition. We've got almost everyone at the back half of the field on pit road for the damage repair, while Sean Anderson, who was under fire from Dylan Pettis, holds on to the race lead. Wesley Parker was looking at 3 wide, potentially off the final corner, and then the yellow came out. So Sean Anderson will get a sigh of relief here on 10-lap old tires, and we'll get to lead some more laps here this time by. So if you want to keep up with everything going down in Split 1 for the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series. Winner at Charlotte just announced, Kenny Brady, winning split 1. And for split 3, they are around 15 laps to go. And with us here cracking down to the final 15, when we get this restart, we should be on the marker to end around their time, as they're sort of getting everyone down the line and side by side. So splits 1 through 3, coverage on Makoni Entertainment and here on FTN. We're so glad that you're with us on another Thursday night. It has been once more a banger from Charlotte Motor Speedway, and trying to one-up, if we can, that finish that happened on Tuesday between Jimmy Mullis and Garrett Lowe for the end of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race here at Charlotte. It was a stunner to the end, so much fun to watch, and tonight has been no different. 3 and 4 wide all over the racetrack, different characters taking chances and going for the race lead, and now we have Sean Anderson in control of this restart, which at the line will be 16 laps to go. Anderson, the race leader. Pettis up top in row 1. Kevin King, the first truck, still on 4 tires. Outside of row 2 with Wesley Parker in 3rd down low. Trevor Huff and Will Cooley occupying row number 3. River Hayes, Justin Bolton, Jack Coyne, and Santiago Gutierrez, the rest of the current top 10. The field off turn 4 in the hands of Anderson. To the restart zone. Late jump by Anderson, but the green flag is out nonetheless. Pettis grabs the lead before the field catches turn 1. That was a slow start from Anderson. Drops him back to 3rd, and he'll have to deal with the wrath of everyone else behind him. And a car into the outside wall. That is Wesley Parker. Everyone gets on through, and Kevin King, searching for the lead, moves up high. He is on 4 tires. Pettis has no choice but to enter pit road. He's been served a black flag penalty. Kevin King, in a matter of seconds, to the lead in an unbelievable sequence of events. What an unbelievable set of circumstances that gets Kevin King, the first truck on 4 tires, to the lead with Trevor Huff right behind him. And we know that Huff is sitting 70th, right on the cut line. A night like this would be memorable to stave off the rest of the competition. Entering round 2, Sean Anderson has done a wonderful job on the 10-lap older tires. He's stuck into the top 3 as long as he can. Justin Bolton, a race high 4th. Jack Coyne, a race high 5th. River Hayes going with Garrison Hogan. First battle inside the top 10. That's for 6th place. And how much this race has changed. In a matter of seconds, Dylan Pettis may get himself robbed of a top 70 spot. Truck around, Kyle Dragon, yellow is out once more. And Dragon got another truck involved. Doesn't seem to be too much damage on the 13, but we'll take another look at it and see exactly how this all unfolded out of turn 4. There's the neon yellow, black, and white Ford F-150 of Dragon getting into Permoda and Milam. He just got tapped at the exit of turn 4 as he was working up the hill. So this is another look from a different angle. Dragon up high, following in the tire tracks of Nate Stewart. The 45 of Permoda right behind, and that 34 blue, black, and white truck of Milam. I think they almost made it 3 wide. Milam going right in front of James Wenzel, and boy, has Wenzel's race turned upside down. Not the way he wanted this one to end. As this is the look from the 13 perspective and the back bumper of the Ford F-150. And just the tap there. Nothing that Dragon can do. Gets a second tap, and around he goes. Right in front of the field. Everyone else doing a great job to scatter around that 13 truck and minimize any extra damage. But we are under yellow once more with about 12 laps to go from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Kevin King still the leader, and that might be the saving grace for Dylan Pettis. There he is, charging by in 1 and 2, who fell a lap down after the caution came out, or right before the caution came out, because of the restart penalty, as Sean Anderson did not go. And Pettis thought he would go earlier. So it looks like he will get his lap back, and he should be okay, although all of that track position will be for naught. And he'll have to work his way through the field, which is going to be a tall task when you think about a restart inside 10 laps to go. And Kevin King, the race leader, with a chance to win at the 1.5 miles in the final race of round 1 in this eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. Well, if you're an iRacing YouTube fan and you keep in touch with a lot of the iRacing YouTubers across the sphere, you'd probably encounter DJ Yej, who makes a lot of iRacing content and has absolutely exploded in popularity over the last year or so with his iRacing content. He made a small documentary feature about Kevin King and his rise through the sim racing ranks, his fall, and then his rise once more when he entered the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series field last season when Steven Wilson won the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship at the NASCAR Hall of Fame near Charlotte Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina. Kevin King was one of those drivers fighting to stay in the series, fighting off relegation. Unfortunately, was kicked out of the series because of that relegation rule. Did not make the top 20 in standings, so has to work his way from the first step once more in Road to Pro. And it almost seems magical to see all of the drivers, whether they're new or not, their respective journeys to make it to the Coke Series. Of course, they want to be one of the 40 best eNASCAR drivers on the sim. They want to be one of those drivers to hoist the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Trophy at season's end with $100,000 to go with it out of the $500,000 in total grand prize winnings for all of those drivers in the series. And Kevin King has been one of the OGs on the iRacing platform. Here tonight could be a storybook win for Kevin King as he looks to capitalize the last race of round 1. And then there's Trevor Huff making a story of his own through consistency and 2 top 10s over the last 3 races. Huff has been able to keep himself alive tonight in this final race of round 1 and carrying just 2 points above the 71st place driver in standings. Before the green flag dropped, Huff has remained resilient, and despite the competition from all of the other drivers who want to get into the top 70 creeping right behind him and around him, Huff has a chance to close this one off with a berth into round 2. Just so many great storylines to tell you about through Road to Pro, and it becomes such a difficult ladder, and that's why we sort of commend the journey that guys like Daniel Falkingham have taken, and why he gives us so much great expertise in the booth is because he's gone through this journey so many times. He's been able to firsthand see the struggles, see the highs, see the lows, and see all the inner workings of what makes a successful Road to Pro season. We've got to restart within 10 laps to go to decide this one from Charlotte and give ourselves at least a ticket to see who will make it to Chicagoland Speedway next month. Kevin King, the race leader, with Trevor Huff on the outside, Justin Bolton and Sean Anderson occupying row number 2, Garrison Hogan and Jack Coyne making it inside and outside of the 3rd row, River Hayes and Santiago Tires back to row 4, Logan Helton and Will Cooley to round out the current top 10. 9 laps remain from Concord, North Carolina. Kevin King, the control truck at the Geico restart zone. We are back underway from NASCAR's hometown. And as soon as Huff got a look at the inside, he shuts the door on Sean Anderson. Keeps himself in second. Justin Bolton gonna work up high. He'll try to get around Jack Coyne. That's for position inside the top 5. Now they'll try and split Anderson. Here comes Coyne down low. The help from Garrison Hogan entering 3 and 4. And a crazy race for Jack Coyne tonight. As low as 33rd in this race. Started 14th and has moved himself into the top 4. He stays on the inside of Sean Anderson. A look on board with the 29 truck. 8 laps to go. Everybody 2 and 3 wide behind. A little more separation, but you'll find 3 wide here. Logan Helton in the middle of 3 wide action. Tires up high. Hayes down low. And what a race this is turning out to be. Guys like Logan Helton still searching for a berth into the top 70. He's going to give it all that he's got. Cross of the line. 7 laps to go. Bolton on the inside of Anderson. Helton trying to stay alive against Tires. Back to turn 1. Oh, and Helton is doing all that he can to push Tires up the racetrack. He's going to be successful, but could be at a loss of friendliness from Tires next time by. Nanny is trying to make a move up high. Tires searching for the middle grip, but he cannot yet not execute it out of turn 4. And Kevin King leads him to the stripe with 6 laps to go. And it seems as though he's been almost mirror image on lap times with Trevor Huff. Oh, Trevor Huff is not letting King run away with this quite easily. But it's all about what line you can use and what momentum you can gain to catch up to the leader. Because catching them is one thing, but when you get in their dirty air, that's when it becomes exponentially harder to make a move on the P1 spot. We know that Kevin King has done almost everything to hold off competition behind. You think back to earlier in this race when Jose Salas Jr. ripping the boards, was trying to get around this truck, but King just held his own, went up high to serve Salas a bit of the dirty air. Not doing as much here as Huff remains in the middle groove, but it's something to keep an eye on as King will hold on to the lead. 4 laps to go this time. The top 2 have pulled away to the tune of about half a second. And the first battle inside the top 15 starts with Nate Stewart back in 12th place. And Stewart back up to the top 12 after being sort of moved out of the way to the mid-pack, searching for position ahead of James Wenzel back in 11th. Great recovery for him after sort of being involved in one of our biggest accidents tonight. Catching up to Will Cooley. This is for the last spot inside the top 10, but no changes for the top 3 positions. Jack Coyne hasn't been able to catch up to the top 2 drivers, and Kevin King remains steady ahead of Trevor Huff. There will be only 2 more opportunities around this Charlotte Motor Speedway for Huff to do anything if there's no yellow that comes out on the racetrack. Another look on board from the Chevrolet of King. Catches 2 laps to go from Charlotte Motor Speedway. And an absolutely phenomenal move up through the field for King. Up until now, at lap 159 of 160, he had to carve his way through the field a bit, through the top 5, and fought a ton of hefty trucks, whether it be John Hall, Connor Euroshak, Jose Salas Jr., and the likes of them. King has been able to beat them all, and through the caution flags and through a bit of luck, Kevin King will catch the white flag from Charlotte Motor Speedway as Trevor Huff falls back to 0.4 of a second. White flag out for Kevin King. And what a race it's been for this Chevrolet tonight. King spending most of the Road to Pro season in first split, dropping back to second split just for this race at Charlotte, is the #1 truck going into this race. And out of the race, he will be the #1 truck still. Occupying victory lane is the OG, Kevin King, the winner from Charlotte Motor Speedway. And in second place, Trevor Huff might just be able to keep his round 2 hopes alive. An outstanding finish, a clean one to the end. There's Huff giving his congratulations to Kevin King. We'll keep an eye on Huff and the storyline surrounding him as we decide the top 70 that make it into round 2 of this eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. But until then, we will watch a classic Kevin King burnout. Kevin King, the winner in the final race of round 1. All celebrations out of Kevin King as he continues to burn the rear tires down. And a deserving win holding off the field in the final sector of the race. And on the 4 fresh tire call, King is able to surpass everyone else. And speak of which, everyone in the top 5 took 4 tires on the last pit stop 23 laps ago. So Kevin King will occupy victory lane. And we will try to sell things out as we get the news live about who will make the top 70 of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series. Stick with us. We'll be right back in just a moment with coverage of Road to Pro on FTN.
Racing isn't easy. Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to coverage of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're at the end of 160 grueling laps, the longest race of the calendar in round 1. Kevin King wins by a decent margin, 0.4 of a second over Trevor Huff, who came into this race 2 points above 71st. He was the last driver in on standings to round 2. We'll see if he can be able to move forward to Chicagoland next month. We'll keep an eye on that. Jack Coyne for Nexus Esports somehow grabs the top 3 out of all of this. We didn't call his name all too much throughout the event. Garrison Hogan back in 4th place. Justin Bolton to round out your top 5. Logan Helton trying to keep his top 70 hopes alive as well. He's in P6. Santiago Gutierrez strong all night long, reflected with a 7th place outing tonight. Daniel Nanny grabs his first top 10 in a while. He moves up to 8th at the checkered flag. James Wenzel for Altus Engineering, the pole sitter, falls back to 9th in the waning laps. Sean Anderson on the oldest tires of the field in the last stint was somehow able to hold on to the final spot in the top 10. Anderson with one of the biggest moving charges through the field after starting in 32nd place. Will Cooley in 11th. David L. Brown rounds out the top 12. Then behind them, Nate Stewart finishing 13th. River Hayes back in 14th. Matt Danson for Altus Engineering in 15th. Ashton Crowder back in 16th place. Kyle Dragon for Nexus Esports in 17th. 18th to Robbie Rabel Jr. and Dalton Milam in 19th. John Hall, strong all night long, got into a crash late in the going. He finalizes tonight's top 20. 21st is Ryan Andrew after starting in 16th. Zeke Willis in 22nd. Justin Levine in 23rd. Joshua Dickens back in 24th place. And then the final 8 or so drivers to round out the field. Craig Yansack in 25th, Cody Johnson, Jose Solis Jr., Caden Rush, Connor Euroshak, and Anthony Permoda to round out your top 30. Look at all those strong drivers that had led laps in this race all of a sudden fall to the end of this one. Dylan Pettis in 31st, Wesley Parker in 32nd, and rounding out our 33 truck field from Charlotte is the 26 of Tommy Gossett. So with that, we have a chance to speak with the race winner tonight, and it is Kevin King in the number 1 truck. Kevin, what a strong race you had tonight from Charlotte Motor Speedway. You weaved yourself through the field. When it mattered most, you had to fight off a lot of competition in order to get to the top spot. And then at the end, everything unravels, and you stay put to get the win here in Concord, North Carolina. What does this this win mean for you? Wow, I could not speak there. What does this win mean for you, and how big of it was for you here at Charlotte?
It's fun. It's always good winning, right? But I've been doing this for a little while, and it's always fun to win some of these things, especially in this series. There's a lot of good people, man. There's a really lot of good people that are up and comers that have a lot of speed, kind of top to bottom. I don't feel like it was as stacked as it used to be back then. Larger teams and all that fun stuff. But yeah, it was good. I felt really good in the long run. I ran some C opens last night to try to see how it was, and we had nothing but green flag runs, so I kind of knew how to manage the tires and the pace. And I didn't know how I was going to compete against these guys, and so lap 20 or something is kind of like my measuring lap, and I was starting to catch those guys. I was like, okay, this is actually going to work out. And it did. So, got fortunate that yellow didn't kill us at the very end. I was able to keep the lead there, and then I felt confident with the tire strategies of the guys around me. But yeah, all in all, it was a good race. Super thankful for the Conti guys. Let me kind of tag along this season. Mike reached out to me, and they have a really, really great bunch of guys, super respectful. I really enjoy working with those guys, trying to help them best I could. And they created a damn rocket ship. Dustin Hall and Galata created some type of monster for this week, and I think you saw that throughout the race. There's a few of us on the same set that kind of drove through the field. But yeah, it was amazing. I'm hoping the guys that are on that program do well in round 2. I'll definitely try to help as best I can. But yeah, it's always special trying to come on top of some of these things.
Your second win of the season, and it was a great one. Actually, your first win, never mind. So it was only your first win. They just updated the points right now, and they give you the W here at Charlotte in deserving fashion. What was it like to race around those guys? I mean, John Hall, you had James Wenzel in the mix as well, Jose Solis Jr., a bunch of strong drivers with different types of driving styles, and you implemented your own in that mix. And at one point, it became about 5 or 6 trucks under a blanket. What was that like to race with those guys?
Well, the good thing, I have a little bit of knowledge with John. He races FTF with us on Saturdays, and he's extremely fast. I didn't really know much about him until I saw him there, and I was super impressed kind of with how he was able to just race around. Because in FTF, there's a lot of coach-level drivers in there that are currently in the series. So him being able to run around those guys, I knew he would be quick. And then Connor's always quick. Jose, I've known Jose for a little while, and he's always someone that's going to give you a run for his money. And he did amazing. So I wasn't too concerned about the guys that I was racing towards the front there. I was just trying to get away from some of those guys that I know that have issues, and it looked like a few of them did have issues towards the end. You try to stay away from those guys, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of new guys that are up and coming. At least for me, I may not know of them as much because I don't race quite as much, but those that I do know, I'm super confident. I don't really go into races thinking like, these guys are a weapon, this guy's a weapon, but they did a great job. Hopefully, some of those guys that were up front, I think the guy in second, I think I heard he's going to make it. So that's awesome because he did really well at the end there. So it'll be cool to see how this new group of guys come up round 2. Interesting tracks. I think there's going to be a new update to see how that switches things up because I think that everyone has basically the same setup now. So that'll be cool to mix things up hopefully, and then see how it all plays out towards round 2 contender and all those guys in the Coke. It's interesting. It's fun to watch.
You're right. In June, we're going to have that great update with these trucks, and we'll see what the aerodynamic changes are going to give these trucks and how you guys and everyone in the sim is going to deal with that entering, round 2 and then moving on towards contender when you have to get into the Xfinity Series car. But Kevin, before we let you go on this great win from Charlotte Motor Speedway, anybody in particular you want to thank for the W?
Yeah, like I said, I definitely want to reach out to, Justin Galata and Justin Smith, and I'm going to miss some guys. Dylan Pettis was awesome. Dustin Hall, of course, Michael Conti, all those guys at Team Conti. The program they have, like I said, is pretty amazing. I from past experience, I'm not the most, I don't really love setup shops, but I feel like there's sometimes you can kind of change a culture of how you treat people and how you treat like the rest of the community. And I feel like they do a really good job of not just trying to get you to buy setups to fill their pocketbooks, but they actually try to go out there and help people and bring those people along with them. So it's been really fun working with those guys. I'm super pumped that he asked me to do that and was able to let me kind of just tag along, like I said, to the Rotor Pro program and help where I could. And it's really nice to see a lot of those guys, do well. And like I said, hopefully in round 2, we can get them there and, get them to where they want to be, which is a Coke Series, and see how that goes.
Well, Kevin, on behalf of all of us at FTN, congratulations on the W here in second split of Road to Pro action from Charlotte. It was so much fun watching you and the rest of the field duke it out, especially midway through the race. Some classic racing at that part of the event. We celebrate the win again. Congratulations, Kevin, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
That is Kevin King in the one truck getting to victory lane. Unfortunately, we do not have Trevor Huff nor Jack Coyne, so we will just have to deal with just Kevin King, the winner interview. What a great race for the number 1 truck who ends up with the W here in Concord, North Carolina. We are still getting updates for the point standings. They are still trying to calculate everything between all of the splits that have just come down to a close. If you're just tuning in with us now here on FTN, we ended the split 1 race a while ago on Marconi Entertainment. Kenny Brady, the winner of that one, he should be entering round 2. And you look at some of the other drivers in split 3, that race, I believe, has ended as well. And at the moment, they are still deciding final points, but I believe we do have our final tally of the 70 that make it into round 2 of the 2024 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. By a tie, technically, Derek Heitman is the final driver in from 70th place. Joshua Ballier is the first one out. It comes down to a tiebreaker between those two, and it also comes down to the points and the consistency and everything that they've been able to do throughout round 1. Derek Heitman, the last driver in. Joshua Ballier, the first driver out. We saw Kyle Dragon bounce up between over the cut line, under the cut line. Unfortunately, Dragon, who ran this race tonight and ended up finishing back in 17th, he's going to be 17 points out of top 70 territory. Some other drivers that ran this race to note of that are also out of it: Jose Solis Jr. in 81st, John Hall back in 82nd, Sean Anderson, who is in 86th. Continue down the list and you might find some other drivers, but those who are able to get in include James Wenzel, Matt Danson, who was 8 points back going into tonight's race, now gets a shot at running into round 2. Got a lot of drivers who are right on that cut line, get some decent points and get in. Logan Helton moves up to 57. Robbie Rabel Jr., despite his back and forth outing tonight from Charlotte, he ends up 56th in standings. You've got a bunch of others in the mix as well, looking up through the list. And then you've got just the bigger hitters. Daniel Nanny back in 44th. River Hayes in 43rd. Ashton Crowder in 42nd. And you go all the way up to the list to Brian Mercurio, who's been basically at the top of the leaderboard all round 1 long. So that will do it. We have official word on who makes it through the top 70. And that concludes our post-race coverage here on FTN from Charlotte. On behalf of everyone at FTN for all of their hard work and support throughout this round 1 coverage, we really appreciate all that they do week in and week out. For our entire crew on the Road to Pro schedule, whether it be Jason Rockefeller, who joined us for several races, whether it be Terry Radford, or whether it be Daniel Falkingham, my colleague in the booth tonight, and the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, on behalf of all of us at FTN, I'm Kenneth Bueno saying so long from Charlotte. Congratulations to Kevin King on his first win of the Road to Pro season. Round 2 next in 1 month time from Chicagoland Speedway.